Available in paperback at e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. One of my viewers wanted to get some understanding about the way black men are presented in adult entertainment. Now, the viewer asked the question, why is it in the adult film industry they always show a black man with white women, Asian women, and Latino women, and whenever they show a black man in a scene with a black woman, it's usually a light-skinned woman or a biracial woman who's basically looking like Brittany Renner or even lighter. Now, what the viewer believes is that this is some sort of psyop, but this isn't a psyop at all. No, this is just white supremacy going out here and presenting their ideas regarding the black male image. Now, what the viewer needs to understand is that the adult film industry is a part of the media arm of white supremacy, and with it being a part of the media arm of white supremacy, it is about presenting the ideas that white racists want to see regarding black men and their sexuality. And when it comes down to the white supremacists, they basically have had all sorts of ideas regarding black male sexuality ever since black men were loaded up on a slave ship and transported here to America. Now, ever since the black man was brought to America in slavery, the white racist has basically had an insecurity regarding the black man's sexual prowess and the size of his genitalia, and this obsession has basically driven this white man as related to his feelings of insecurity and inadequacy. And as it's driven his feelings of insecurity and inadequacy, this is what basically motivates many of these white males in the adult film industry who run the business to basically present their narrative regarding heterosexual black men. And as they present their narrative regarding heterosexual black men in modern adult entertainment, it reflects the ideas presented by white supremacy ever since a black man came off a slave ship, of this black man having this extreme sexual prowess, having a large carbon rod, and basically being able to be someone that many women of other races, like white women, Latino women, and Asian women lust for, because they believe he has better sexual prowess due to his large carbon rod. However, what this is an idea presented by white supremacy regarding black men, and it's a narrative that's completely false, because what I want the viewer to understand is that when it comes down to adult entertainment is fake, and I go in depth on this in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and I also did it in a classic blog. When it comes down to adult entertainment is not real sex. No, adult entertainment is no different than watching WWE wrestling, where you watch performers put on an act, and what the performers are doing is putting on an act that basically makes it where they basically act out the fantasies of those white men. And as they act out the fantasies of those white men, they basically present the narratives that they want to see regarding a black man's sexual prowess, and they present the fantasies that the white man wants to see regarding sexual acts. That's what you're seeing in a pornographic film, and that can really distort your whole perception of self and your perception of sex and sexuality. And that's why it's not good to really consume pornography, because when you go out here and consume adult entertainment, when you go out here and consume this adult entertainment, what it does is it wires you to believe certain things are true regarding people, and those things aren't true at all. No, what you're getting again is a white supremacist idea of sex and sexuality as related to the perception of black men, as related to sex and sexuality. And again, these acts in these films are basically staged and choreographed by a producer. And again, it's not that black men are again are out here looking for white women or Asian women or Latino women. No, they basically go out here and set up these scenarios that they believe will go out here and get lots of sales as related to views for these days subscriptions as related to these types of websites that cater to these kinds of fetishes. And in the past, before this, the reason why they made this type of material is because they were looking to sate the sexual fetishes of white men. They're looking to sate the fetishes of white men and even some white women who wanted to see how this black man was bigger than a white man and could go out here and fulfill this white woman, this Asian woman, this Latino woman. Again, they got that pleasure. And they also, again, when they had a black on black scene, they wanted to be able to sell. And when it came down to the white supremacists, they have a fetish for biracial or light-skinned women, and because they have a fetish for biracial or light-skinned women based on what has been presented in slavery, because during slavery, when it came down to these biracial black women or these light-skinned women, usually these light-skinned women were biracial women who were the slave master's daughters. What would happen is the slave master would basically see the biracial daughter not as one of his children, but he would see the biracial daughter as basically someone for him to act out on sexually, and he would sexually abuse the biracial daughter. And when he finished molesting his own daughter, what he would do go out here and then send the daughter to a brothel in other areas like New Orleans, and he would basically have his daughter pimped out. That's where everything gets real twisted as related to the biracial or the light-skinned woman. Again, the white male basically sees her as a sexual fetish, a way for him to be able to participate in the deviant sexual acts that he believes he can't participate in on a white woman. Now, when it comes to the white woman, he wants to keep the white woman pure, but he wants to go out here and get with someone who looks like a white woman, and that's where he goes out here and looks to abuse his own biracial daughters because they look white, and since they look white and they're black as related to him, he believes he doesn't have to go out here and respect that woman as a person, and that's what leads to that person basically, again, having these ideas about light-skinned women. Again, the light-skinned woman was, again, fetishized and perverted by the white male slave master, and that fetish basically has been translated for years as related to American culture, and that's why we see a lot of people looking to give, again, some sort of preference to a biracial or light-skinned woman because they believe that the light-skinned woman, again, is more attractive because she's closer to white, and they also believe that the light-skinned or biracial woman is going to be easier to get than the white woman, and in some cases, when it comes to some black men, they believe that she's a substitute for a white woman or a placeholder for a white woman, and they get involved with the biracial woman because they don't see her as a person, they see her as some sort of object, and this is what has been presented, again, as related to, again, sexual relations, and has been a part of American history for centuries. Now, I go in depth on that whole part as related to biracial women, as related to slavery, in my book, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, where Matilda talks about, the way they present the image of biracial women, and again, when it comes to black women, this is not about presenting an act of showing you a sex act of black on black love. No, these images in these acts are basically meant to present you a white man's fantasies and white man's fetishes, a white man's ideas of sex regarding black men. That is what you're going to get in adult entertainment. You're going to get a white man's ideas about sex in most of these films because usually what it's all about is presenting this white man's fetish, because some of these white males, basically what they are deviants, and because they're deviants, what they want to show you, again, is this black man going out here and, again, getting with this white woman, not in a romantic way, but in a lot of cases, they want to show their fetishes, like the cuckold fetish, where the white man is married to the woman and he's watching the black man go out here and have at his woman, or he's out here, and again, he's in some sort of fetish type situation. It's never a picture of a balanced relationship where, again, a white woman is attracted to a black man, because the white supremacist doesn't want to see that. No, if they were to see a black man actively involved with a white woman, it's about it would basically upend their whole issues as related to power, because these guys basically, when they make adult entertainment, they want to see scenes where that basically gratify their pleasures, and they want to see scenes that basically gratify their pleasures, and that's what the viewer needs to understand when it comes down to adult films. Again, adult films are all about white supremacy, again, presenting their ideas about black men and male sexuality. It's not something that comes from us. No, these adult films, basically, one of the reasons why I find some of them to be toxic as related to black men, is because you're not seeing a healthy relationship between any black man or black woman or any woman. No, these are all white male fetishes that you see presented to you in these type of films. And again, they can warp your perception of sex and sexuality and warp your whole perception of relationships, because you don't see people as people. No, you see them as part of a fantasy that you're seeing. And what happens to a lot of people is that they buy into this fantasy and believe that it's real, then it's not real at all. No, like I said before, when it comes down to adult entertainment is not actual sex, because actual sex involves love, involves intimacy, involves a personal, emotional, and spiritual connection, whereas adult entertainment is, yes, you have bodies in action, but these people are acting like they are engaging. Again, they are acting and pretending to things. In many cases, some of these people, even who are performing these acts, again, aren't even interested in that person in any sort of sexual way, but they're performing to make it look like they are. And that can, again, warp your perception and make you think, oh, they're really enjoying this. No, they're acting like they enjoy it, because this is an act. And this can really mess up folks, like the viewer was presenting to me as related to their talking points. Now, they believe that when it comes down to these type of films, that they basically are one of the reasons why Gen Z black boys are dating outside their race. Now, when it comes down to Gen Z black boys, they are not dating outside of their race because of the adult film industry. No, Gen Z black boys are dating outside of their race, basically due to the way that they were raised. A lot of Gen Z black boys are basically, again, dealing with the trauma from black mothers that was passed down from the days of Generation X. Now, my generation basically was the first generation to deal with the trauma from mama, because many black women who were mothers were basically raised in the system of white supremacy and the culture of white feminism. And as they were raised inside of the system of white supremacy and the culture of white feminism, what happened to these black boys is that a lot of these black boys never really saw a woman who looked like them show them any sort of love. No, many of these black women adopted white feminism, and as they adopted white feminism, what they did was look to think that they could be like a white woman. I go in depth on this in another one of my books, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And because they thought they were going to be like a white woman, what they did was adopt the nature of the feminist, not understanding that white supremacy pulled an okie doke on them, because the white feminist was not considered to be a woman in a high position of society like the traditional white woman. No, the white feminist was at the bottom of society, and she was actually below the heterosexual black woman. She was actually at the bottom of female society because she had become completely ostracized, but because many black women valued white acceptance more than black love, they went out here and adopted the mannerisms and culture of the white feminists. And as they adopted the culture and mannerisms of the white feminists, they basically started to express the contempt that the white feminists had for black men. This was compounded by them going out here and getting with the black men of the bottom of society. And as they got with the black men at the bottom of society, these relationships were not satisfying. And as these women became single mothers, as they became a part of the welfare state and a part of the corporate complex, they expressed their anger at their sons because the men in their lives could not meet the standards of white society. The black men that they got involved with, either they were guys who were pookies, who basically were not interested in being fathers, or they were just men who were working out here, but they could not give her the lifestyle of the white woman. But the whole thing is, she adopted the lifestyle of the white feminist, not understanding the white feminist lived below the black woman, that the black woman actually was doing better than the white feminist. The white feminist basically was this woman who came from single mothers, basically lived in poverty because she had to work for herself. She basically lived in misery with her children. But the black woman was actually doing better because most black women were married. Most black women basically had fathers in the home. They came from a healthy household. Yeah, the man didn't make a lot of money because he was discriminated against and had to work jobs like Pullman porter and janitor. But there was, both of them were together and they had a community. But because they wanted to get white acceptance, what happened is the black woman wanted to be like this white woman, and as she looked to aspire to be like this white woman, she adopted feminist culture. And again, that feminist culture is the way led to her thinking she could raise her boy on her own, but she couldn't do it because, one, the boy needs a father because only a man can teach a boy how to be a man. Two, when it came down to these boys, again, this woman had a lot of anger subconsciously towards that boy at his father and looked to take it out on her sons. And as she took that out on her sons, this boy got trauma from mama as related to the cruel emotional and mental abuse that he suffered in that home. And as he suffered that mental and emotional abuse in that home, he was seeing the image of white women as being kinder and gentler on television, saw kinder, gentler white women in places like doctors' offices and at stores when he went outside, and he basically saw other women being kinder and gentler to him, like Hispanic women and Asian, and sometimes a lot of, again, Asian women out here. Again, he saw those women, again, being polite and friendly. And again, this woman being polite and friendly to him as he entered into adolescence basically made it where he saw her as an option, because when he tried to approach black girls, those black girls, what they would do is be extremely cruel to him. This is what I experienced growing up. And as I experienced this growing up, again, I saw how a lot of Puerto Rican girls and Cuban girls, again, Latina girls, basically seeing that they had an opportunity to get with the black guy, like the viewer says, as related to the job that they have. They said that one of their coworkers is 22 years old and is dating a Puerto Rican girl, and another coworker is dating a Cuban. Well, back in the 80s, I saw the exact same thing go on here in the Bronx. I saw Dominican girls going out here and getting the square black guys. I saw Puerto Rican girls getting the square black guys. I saw the Cuban girls getting the square black guys. Again, these females basically took advantage of that opportunity and that door that was opened because black women bought into feminism and looked to go out here and look to be the head and look to be the one who looked to control the situation by going out here and getting with these drug dealers and gang members. They looked out here and saw these guys, again, going to school, doing well in class. They saw these guys go into college and, again, basically jumped on that guy in the black community. And again, that's something that happened in the black community as related to things. And again, this was a culture that was passed on from generation to generation in some black communities, because they basically, what happened with a lot of black women is that this is the real psyop, is that they went out here and bought into white feminism. thinking that they could be like a white woman and be like this white woman and be in a place where they could have, again, the place of this white woman, but have this power like a man. They wanted to be in that place where they could be that head in the community. But the sad part is that they wound up emasculating a lot of their sons, and because those sons want to have their natural masculinity and express themselves naturally as masculine, what they do is get with a woman who they believe will be submissive and feminine in these Hispanic and other women of other races. And again, that's where the psyop is, and again, doesn't really have much to do with adult entertainment, because adult entertainment is a separate part of white supremacy. But the whole thing is that white supremacy, again, did damage to black boys as part of Gen Z. A lot of black males in Gen Z are dealing with the trauma from mama that was passed on from grandma and great grandma as related to the culture of feminism that they grew up in. And as they grew up in this culture of feminism, what happened to these black boys is that they saw this black woman as aggressive and masculine, and even worse, they saw the women who were supposed to be the women they were supposed to get involved with as basically rejecting them because they basically, again, did not see a black man as attractive or desirable, because they're looking to, again, look to go out here and look to get either involved with a pookie who they believe they can control, or some beta white male. They're still looking to go out here and look to take the place of a man in God's order. They're looking to replace the man in God's order, and no man wants to be involved with that type of woman unless they have serious issues, similar to the white males who were a part of slavery in the antebellum South, who had these insecurities about black male sexuality. The only person who wants, again, a feminist indoctrinated black woman is usually either an effeminate male or a beta male who basically is not looking to take his role in God's order and wants to be led by a woman similar to Jezebel as related to King Ahab of Israel. Again, they basically want that type of guy who's a weak guy. But healthy men, basically, if they can't see that there's anybody viable in their community, they're basically either going to go out here and deal with the women who are respectful of them and get with those women. That's what I saw growing up in the South Bronx. Or they'll do like I did after 1989 and looking to remain celibate until you find a viable black woman. I mean, that's what I did. That's part of the thing, because I wanted to be with a black woman who reflected me. But the whole thing is that it's hard to do that because you have a good group of black women, again, poisoned by this white feminism. And again, that poisoning of white feminism is why you have so many black men, again, out here looking at these other non-black women and looking at white women in some cases as related to many of the Gen Zs. Now, the viewer is a millennial, but I, as someone who came from Generation X, I saw firsthand why so many black boys basically, again, started checking out Puerto Rican girls, Dominican girls, Cuban girls, again, and even in some cases, white and Asian girls, depending on the neighborhood they were in. Again, they wanted to get with black women first, black girls first, but many black girls basically were out here with these pookies, basically destroying the black community with the crack epidemic, supporting neighborhood drug dealers because that fed into their hypergamy. And as it fed into their hypergamy, they were looking to be with what they considered to be high status black men. But these black men were not high status because the white supremacists basically put the drugs in the community to basically either kill black people with the drugs, or black people killed each other because they became more addicted to the money, and the few that did survive basically were taken and broken in prison and broken down by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles for some commissary as related to the commissary list. And that's what happened to a lot of black-on-black relations. But these black-on-black relations, they've always presented in the media, was always about showing you light skin. Again, because they believe showing the light-skinned person. Again, this was all about programming an idea in people's mind that the lighter-skinned woman is more attractive because white supremacy feels more comfortable with light-skinned and biracial black women. They rarely ever showed black-on-black scenes in any adult entertainment, but all of this is all part of white supremacy. And again, white supremacy's plan is to again get into the black mind and get into the black mind to divide the black man from the black woman. And they're never going to show you actual black on black love again in any sort of their media, whether it be again mainstream entertainment or adult entertainment. You're not going to see a black man going out here and enjoying a black woman like that. I mean, back in the 80s, you might have seen maybe one or two of these scenes like Ebony Eyes and Ray Victory or something like that. But again, or maybe something here and there with Angel Kelly or something like that. But usually the main thing was about sating white male fetishes as related to sex. And again, those black on black scenes were all about sating white male fetishes as related to their ideas about black male sexuality. And it was all about presenting these ideas regarding black male sexuality. And again, this is all, that's what white supremacy is all about, because their media, again, is about programming ideas in your mind. And it's like Professor Black Truth has said, this is all about mind control. And one of the ways they control you is through their media. And that's why you have to plug out of their media, especially their adult entertainment, because their adult entertainment, again, is not a reality regarding black male and black female relations. And you have to understand, when it comes down to this, again, this is entertainment, just like WWE. And you really don't want to be sitting there watching this and believing this is the reality as related to black people, because there are black men and black women who share love with each other and share intimacy with each other. And they share love and intimacy with each other, not based on the fantasies presented inside of adult entertainment. They have real, healthy relationships. And as they have these real, healthy relationships, they share love with each other. And that sex basically brings them together mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's where you have that strong personal connection, where you share love with another person and can come together through a sexual act as related to things. But when it comes down to this adult entertainment, this type of media is something that you cannot see as a reflection of society. No, it's not a reflection of actual black people. No, what you see in those films is a reflection of a white supremacist idea regarding black people. And that's why this type of media is really toxic to sit there and watch. It's really toxic because it basically, again, poisons your mind to believe that these fantasies are true. And I'm hoping that this helps the viewer get a better understanding, because he's a young man, again, young man who's comes from an immigrant family. And basically, again, I want him to get an understanding of black people and black sexuality. That's not what you're seeing in these films. No, what you're seeing is some white racist fantasy, and it's rooted in racism. That's why when it comes down to adult entertainment, again, I take it with a grain of salt. I know it's fake, and I want the viewer to see how fake it is, because the only way to understand about intimacy as related to black people and as understand relationships between black men and black women is to experience black on black love. And sadly, a lot of Gen Z basically doesn't understand black on black love, because they've been tainted by white supremacy. And as they've been tainted by white supremacy, they don't know what it is to know what black on black love is. Now, as a Gen Xer, I grew up with black on black love until the crack epidemic destroyed it. And black on black love is a beautiful thing, and the only way to experience it is to find a black woman who loves herself and wants to share that love with you. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And when you send that request, please do not go into deep details, because when it comes down to PayPal, their bots basically look for certain words, and if they see certain words, it's going to basically lead to them do a review, and that may delay you getting that video, because I can't make the video without payment. And again, in order to do that, you have to go out here and just present your point, what you want me to talk about in very simple language, like just saying, okay, this is about black men's relationships as related to interracial relationships, and not really go into certain terms because certain words trigger things, certain words trigger these AI, and it can lead to them going out here looking to do a review and basically delay you getting this video. Now, if you want to pick up the books that I talked about in this video, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, and Stop Simping in Cyberspace, you can find those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.